All right, we'll start one more time here. The folks online were muted. But again, we welcome the people online as well as those of you in person. So our program tonight is on crypto mines and AI data centers and the challenges that presents. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about a few other issues that are going on locally for a couple of minutes before we start our presenters tonight. First of all, we want to start by thanking Ollie and the Osher and UNCA for giving us this facility and the technical support people to help us out, as well as a little side. Got that? Okay. Anyway, so we're very appreciative for them and their support that they give us. Sierra Club, as many of you may be aware, is a national organization, but also one that's active at the state level. We have an office in Raleigh. We have groups around the state, and we're here locally at the Western North Carolina Sierra Club group. We've got something like 13, 14 counties of the West that we support and that we engage with and have members and supporters in. We also want to acknowledge that we're on the land that was in historic lands of the Cherokee, and we want to particularly thank them for their many, many generations of protecting the environment and the land and the forest that we can now enjoy. We have monthly programs. First Wednesday of each month at 7 p.m. In addition to that, we have a leaders meeting the first Wednesday of each month at 5 o'clock upstairs, and we are always anxious to have other people join us for that. If you're interested, you can contact Judy Maddox at 15@gmail.com, or if you go to our website, wncSierraClub.org, the connection, you can probably get her contact information as well. She apologizes for not being here. She's out of town tonight, so I'm substitute MC for tonight. Our meetings are always here, except for July. On July, we have a picnic. It's going to be July 18th. So pay attention. If you're getting on our mailing list, you'll get the notice of that. But if not, jot down at the 18th. It's at the West Asheville Park, and it's a great event for the summer to celebrate and have fun. You can always find if you're not on our mailing list, you can go to wncSierraClub.org and sign up. There's a QR code out front or a list you can sign up to get on to know about our twice monthly newsletters, to tell you about our meetings, action alerts, and things like that. We'll be talking about a few of those action opportunities here shortly. First of all, I want to bring up Ed Maggart to tell us a little bit about our Kids Adventure Club. Ed, come on up.
Thanks, Ken. One of the things that Sierra Club does is try to get folks outdoors. And we have something called Adventure Kids Club. It's our regional version of a national program called Inspiring Connections Outdoors, and we call it Adventure Kids Club here. We just finished 10 weeks with a group of about 10 students from Asheville Middle School who signed up for a Trailblazer Club, and they got to do things like learn about watersheds and go wading. They learned how to build a fire, and we made s'mores. They did lots of fun things, and we're in particular trying to get kids who don't normally have access to the outdoors, or it's not part of their family's culture, so that they can enjoy it too and get their friends and family involved. And then hopefully, as we all know, when you love the outdoors, you want to take care of it. If anyone's interested in helping us out, we're planning now several full-day programs in the summer with kids who are in city center camps. And if you want to volunteer with us, a couple of forms to fill out, that's about it. And then if we have 8 events going on and you can only help with 1, that's okay. So you can see my email's up there and also Judy's. Please reach out if that's something you'd like to find out more about. I also happen to be one of the outdoor leaders for things that adults do, and we have now, we're really excited, 4 folks who lead adult hikes, so we're going to try and have as many as we can. This month is a busy one for a couple of us, but I've got a hike scheduled for April 30th. We're going to go up from Canton up Highway 215 and then hike along the Flat Laurel Creek up to Sam's Knob. So it's about a 7-mile hike. Should be a beautiful time, lots of wildflowers. And one of the reasons I've chosen it, you're going to hear a little bit from David Reed in a few minutes. It's one of the hike areas in the National Forest that's in part of the roadless area. And right now, there's an act going out where they're considering repealing the roadless rule in all national forests, and we've got a lot of areas in western North Carolina that will be affected, some of them butt right up to wilderness areas. And so you'll hear some more about that, but this would be a chance to experience one and also learn some more about it. And all the hikes and other events we have are listed on Western North Carolina Sierra Club website, so you can always take a look there. Thanks.
Okay, May 6th, our next meeting is going to be lesser-known hidden gem hikes in Western North Carolina. A lot of our hike areas can get crowded, particularly when the weather's really nice, but this is going to expose you to some areas that maybe you haven't hiked before that are really hidden gems. So if you are interested in that, or you know people that are hikers, it'd be a great program to come see and learn about those areas. David.
I know many of us are aware of that we're surrounded by 1.2 million acres of beautiful national forest, part of the national forest system that encompasses many millions of acres across the U.S. We've been involved in the effort to improve the Pisgah and Nantahala Forest Plan for many years now, and this resulted in a final plan being released by the agency in 2023 that we thought fell far short of our values on the national forest. So we, after going through, exhausting all the processes that we could use, we filed 2 lawsuits. One of them we filed under the Endangered Species Act for the plan's inadequate analysis in consultation with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service over 4 species of bats. And they're saying that the plan would have no impact on these bats, which we disagreed based on our analysis. Well, I'm pleased to say that was filed in 2024, and we have cause to celebrate because we just got word yesterday that the federal judge agreed with us and ruled in our favor, which voids the current forest plan. So this means that for the 4 species of bats specifically, they cannot rely on the current forest plan, and they've got to go back temporarily to the 1994 forest plan and use its guidelines. Our second lawsuit is still pending, but it was under the National Forest Management Act saying they should go back to the drawing board for the whole forest plan and redo it. It was so bad by increasing the logging by 5 times what the 94 plan had. We still don't know the outcome to that, but since the judge in this case voided the current forest plan, we're still learning what that means, but this is a great cause for celebration for those of us that love our national forest. The second announcement I have also concerns our national forest, and that is the current administration's effort in Washington, D.C. to do away with what Ed mentioned as the roadless rule, which in our national forest here, it protects roughly over 120,000 acres of backcountry wild areas that have recovered to the point that they provide a backcountry, a more primitive experience for all kind of activities. Well, the Secretary of the Agriculture, Rollins, wants to do away with this. And so we have organized, back in 2001, which the rule was finalized then, there was massive public support, and the Forest Service held over 600 public hearings to get comments. This time they're more stealthy. We don't think the Forest Service is going to hold any hearings when the draft environmental impact statement is released in the near future. So we're holding our own hearing. And I want you to mark your calendars and please invite you to come to The Mule, which is off of Sweeten Creek Road. It's the Devil's Foot Brewery right there off of exit 51 on April 15th at 6 p.m. and invite you to speak out for your national forest. So these events that we're planning all across the country, because we know the Forest Service is not going to hold hearings, they're going to try to slip this under the table. So please come and speak out about what the national forests mean for you. Thank you.
And you're connected with Chuck Edwards, he wants to be reelected.
Yeah, if you want to write.
I mean, it's a good time. And Ted Budd's been pretty supportive with our hurricane recovery. So he's really on that.
Yeah, our plans are to invite both candidates for our congressional district, of course, and we will have a VIP speaking. I think our own Drew Ball will be there, who's a Buncombe County Commissioner. So, and I think the county commission is looking at passing a resolution in support of the roadless rule as well.
And you could have a beer with a bunch of good environmentalists. Have a fun evening. So you might as well have fun while we're protesting. Standpoint. Okay, our program tonight is on crypto mines and AI data centers, and we are so lucky that we've got 3 experts in person and 1 online. And 2 of our experts have driven down from New York, the state of New York, and 1 up from Atlanta. And Cindy is the one from Atlanta, but she is part of us and part of our Sierra Club leadership team here, and was living in Cherokee until she'll tell you that story. But anyway, I'm going to introduce Joseph Campbell, who's going to tell you a little bit about the program and a little bit about the speakers. So Joseph, take it over. And we have to bring up the next slideshow with our technical support folks. Or do you know what to do?
Do I? No. I'm technically, yeah. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Joseph Campbell. I'm president of Seneca Lake Guardian. We're a grassroots environmental organization located in one of the most beautiful regions of New York State, we think, the Finger Lakes. And I'm a proud co-founder of the National Coalition Against Crypto Mining. Thank you all for joining us tonight, both in person and virtually. I'd also like to extend a special thank you to the Western North Carolina Sierra Club for graciously hosting and organizing this event. Your commitment to protecting this region's rich natural environment does not go unnoticed, and we're grateful to partner with you at such a critical moment for communities. Tonight you'll hear from 3 experts and advocates who all share the same mission of safeguarding our planet and community well-being against the growing threats of crypto mining and AI data centers. Please put cell phones on mute so we aren't distracted during the presentation. And first, I'm pleased to introduce Ben Murray. Ben's an economist and senior researcher at Food and Water Watch. Ben's research on energy and water use and data centers has been cited extensively and is the subject of numerous media reports. He also has experience organizing data center opposition in the Ohio River Valley. So take it away, Ben.
Thank you. I'm online. Hopefully people can hear me now. And hopefully you can also see my screen. Is that right? Yeah. Can you everyone see my screen and stuff? Or hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Great.
It's 1 in the morning.
I'm going to make sure that people in the room can. I'm going to wait for a thumbs up from the podium person before I get going.
Yeah. Can you let them know?
Okay, can everyone in the room hear me? If someone in the room, if people at Reuter 102 can hear me, someone please talk into the mic and let me know.
I'll come down and check. Give me a second.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Quinn, just let me know.
Can you try talking now?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome, great. Well, thanks everyone for having me. Those in person, online, sorry I couldn't be there. But I'm going to quickly talk about data centers' environmental and economic threats. And I have been giving this talk, and it's kind of evolved into something that is hopefully something you can take talking points from and then help organize in your area if that's something you're doing. I'm just going to make sure my slideshow is viewable. Is that my slideshow viewable right now? I know it is for people online.
No, give us just a sec.
Give us a second.
Okay.
What is I'm gonna leave the meeting then.
Okay. Sounds like we're good.
I believe so.
Yes.
Awesome. And then it changed to, all right, great. So I'm going to get started. As I said, hopefully this presentation will help people kind of learn about things, ways to talk about these issues that if you were trying to talk to elected officials or other community members, you can engage with them in a way to get the point across that these data centers are very potentially harmful things, both environmentally and economically. And I want to say that I'll be saying data centers here, but data centers and crypto mining operations often use the same hardware, the same types of buildings, obviously the same energy and water. So they're almost interchangeable. And actually, a lot of crypto mines are converted into data centers, and kind of vice versa. They bounce back and forth. Cool. So quickly, what is a data center? Hopefully no one here has ever seen one. Are we good? Am I good in there? For the people in the hall, am I good? I see someone at the podium.
I muted the mic and
Okay.
have to unmute if you want to talk.
Is she trying to tell me something? Sorry, I can't hear you if you're talking to me at the podium. I think that microphone's muted.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm going to keep going. So what are data centers? They're the brain of the internet. So we're using it right now to give this presentation. We should be aware of that. But at the same time, for the most part, newly built data centers or crypto mine operations are either for crypto mining or AI large language model training. The inside of a data center is mostly hardware, network transmission equipment, stuff like that. The thing that really causes data centers to need so much energy are the GPUs or whatever kind of computer chip is running inside of that data center. So these chips pull more energy than your average chip. They run hotter than your average chip. And that running hotter is what causes so much water for cooling. Large data centers can have tens of thousands of these chips running 24 hours a day throughout their entire lifetime. And these chips' lifetime are, as claimed by the software companies, only 3 to 6 years. So really just 3 to 4 years. So these things generate a lot of e-waste and pull a lot of power in those 3 and 4 years. And like I said, tens of thousands of these things. And that's what are in hyperscale data centers, the largest data centers, or the largest crypto mines. These facilities contain at least 5,000 computer servers and occupy at least 10,000 square feet of physical space, but can be up to 1 million square feet. On average, hyperscale AI-focused data centers consume as much energy as 100,000 households. the largest data centers can consume 20 times more than this. So 2 million households worth of energy. And so we're talking about such huge energy needs. In Ohio River Valley, where I'm organizing right now, the proposed data center would use 31 times more energy than the entire county combined. So it's crazy, the amount of energy. So why do they need so much water? As I mentioned earlier, those computer chips, they pull more energy than average chips or older chips, and they run hotter. So that running hotter is why. There are 3 types of water consumption within a data center: scope 1, 2, and 3. Scope 1 is on-site water consumption. And so this is for the cooling of the plant, of the chips in the plant. This image is a really basic image of how cool water is sent into the building. That water is cooled, sent over into the servers to cool the chips themselves that are hot. And then that water is sent back out to the source. And usually that water is then treated and cooled off again before it's dumped into the source it came from. But the EPA in Ohio, for example, is trying to deregulate safeguards that allows these facilities to dump hot water back into the river. So that's not good. Scope 2 water is off-site water consumption. Surprisingly, off-site water consumption is actually the majority of the water that's used in a data center or a crypto mine. And off-site water consumption comes from the power generation process. So as we know, a lot of our grid is fueled by fossil fuels, whether it's natural gas, coal, or what have you. Nuclear is also very water intensive. Because of how much energy these data centers and crypto mines need, the most water they use is actually at the power generation site. So that's an interesting point. And obviously massive emissions as well. And then scope 3 is indirect water consumption, which is kind of the water used in the manufacturing of the chips, the construction, all that stuff, which is significant, but scope 2 and 1 are the majority of water concerns with these operations. So where will the energy come from? For the most part, right now, it'll come from existing power sources. And as I mentioned earlier, that's mostly fossil fuels for the parts of the country that most of us live in right now. But a lot of these data center projects and crypto projects now are proposing new power sources to come along with these projects. And while that may be good for increasing energy capacity on the grid, they often are going to what's called behind the meter generation, which means these data centers want to build power generation sources nearby that the power generation sources do not send energy to the grid. They send energy straight to the data center. So it's kind of behind the meter. It's not energy that's not sent to the utility and then metered in that way. And the issue with that right now is that most of the new generation sources they're talking about are small gas and then small modular reactors or nuclear. And to me, the biggest issue with that, on top of the emissions from natural gas, is when you live by an energy generation source, whether it's coal, natural gas, nuclear, whatever it is, the community members near that generation source, bear the environmental burden of the power generation. But in a normal case, at least they benefit from the power then being sent to the grid and it powering their homes. In these behind the meter generation situations, the natural gas plants and the small modular nuclear reactors, the environmental risk shouldered by these communities facing these behind the meter generation plants, they don't even see the power that these plants are producing, as that power goes straight to the data center or crypto mine. Pretty alarming stuff. So the downstream effects are significant. Infrastructure build out is a huge part of these data centers and crypto mines, right? The power transmission lines are not just around to send 50 megawatts here, 200 megawatts there, which these numbers are hard to wrap our heads around anyway. So the grid, the utility companies need to increase infrastructure on the grid if there's going to be huge demand from crypto mines or data centers. And those infrastructure costs are spread across all consumers. So what that means is, I'm sure a lot of people have experienced, bills are increasing a lot. And that's because the cost of servicing these larger energy users like data centers and crypto mines, those costs are spread across the grid as a whole. So residents and everyone else shoulders the infrastructure burden of that. That's the energy. Where will the water come from for these plants? They need clean water, so it's often from drinking water sources. And that's why areas like North Carolina, Ohio, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and New York are seeing a lot of new proposals because they built a lot of these things out west and then they ran out of water. So as of 2023, nearly 80% of the water consumption of Google AI data centers in the US came from drinking water sources. And this is really important because drinking water sources, even if they're abundant, if they're overstressed, aquifers and water systems that are being taken from too much, if there's too much demand, it stresses the water supply and can create water quality and water quantity issues. I'm sorry if I'm going fast, but I just want to make sure we have time for the other speakers and Q&A and stuff. The last thing I'll say, everyone in this room, I'm guessing, is an environmentalist, myself included, for sure. Unfortunately, if we're talking to elected officials and if we're talking to the average person out there, they may not be an environmentalist, and that's okay. I know it's definitely true for elected officials. I'm learning that for sure. So I think it's really important to talk about the economics behind these data centers and crypto mines, because that's often how you can get through to people who may not be as environmentally minded as we are. So quickly, the AI economy on a macro level is circular deals backed by uncertain assets. And what this means effectively is, as I'm sure a lot of us have heard, there's an AI or crypto bubble. And so this is an important talking point if people are if decision makers in your community are thinking about a data center. It's important to stop and say, if this is a bubble, we don't want to be caught with the bag in our hand when stuff hits the fan. That's just something to think about. These are often shrouded in secrecy. Definitely in Ohio, where I've been working, there are NDAs that elected officials have signed, which sounds crazy, but is true. But they shroud these projects in secrecy and try to push them through the back door because they know if word gets out about the water and energy and environmental damage that's going to come from these projects, if it was all out there in the public would push back, which is what we're doing now. Little to no job creation. This is a huge talking point to bring to elected officials. Elected officials have been told by corporations, whether it's Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, whoever it is, they've been told that this is an economic development. They say, oh, well, it'll bring 50 jobs per building. That is such BS. I'll talk about that in a second. Also, they often rely on tax breaks, which is something we need to tell our elected officials, no tax breaks. If this is going to happen, you cannot give tax breaks to these. So a quick talking point about the jobs, and I'll share my slides later for these stats. But in Northern Virginia, there are 565 data center facilities, and they employ just over 10,000 full-time employees at these facilities. That's 18.8 jobs per facility. So if a county commissioner is telling you, oh, well, they're going to bring jobs back, they're going to bring 50 jobs per building, my answer to that is, okay, the older data centers in Virginia only have 19 jobs per person per building. Why would we be building less efficient data centers than they already have out there? And that's because that 50 job number is totally BS. Further, these facilities often plan to become what's called a lights out operation. Now, you may be familiar with lights out manufacturing. This is the same, where the plan at the end of the day is to have these data centers running with as little to no human employment at all. I mean, and I don't want to talk about AI as a cultural phenomenon, but AI is being rolled out to take jobs explicitly. These AI data centers are not job creating. Same for crypto mines. They do not create jobs in a meaningful sense. And so how we can talk to elected officials who have the power to make these decisions, tell them that it's not job creating, and then tell them, say no to tax breaks. At the state level, there's often sales tax and other exemptions. That's true in Ohio and New York. I think it's true in North Carolina as well. There's sales tax abatements for crypto and data center construction. And then the biggest flagrant use of tax breaks is at the local level for data centers. At the local level, there may be different names for them in different states. In Ohio, it's called a community reinvestment area. In New York, it's an industrial development agency. But what these are effectively are property tax cuts, and they can range from 50% to 100% and anywhere from 10 to 30 years. And these are tools that these corporations are trying to force down local government's throats without taking into a public account. Also, if you're aware of tax increment financing, that's another tool that's been used. And then payments in lieu of taxes are often used if there is a tax cut. Yeah, if you understand taxes, it's clear that these things do not apply to data centers because data centers are not economic development. They don't create jobs. They do not meaningfully increase the tax base, especially coupled with tax cuts. And so they're not economic development. So if you're going to a local meeting or if you're going to talk to an elected official in any capacity, get this into their head, because what these data centers do is they run private software for large corporations to benefit hundreds, if not thousands of miles away. It's not economic development. So quickly, what can we do? Learn from nearby projects. If there's one thing, if you're trying to organize against a data center, if there's one thing I can tell you to do, it would be identify a town or county or village or city in your state nearby that is further along in the process than you are, whether that data center has been built and is operational, or if the project has been proposed and there's a site plan and it's under construction, or if if you're in initial stages and you're worried it might happen to you, learn from nearby projects, because that is going to be the best use of your time by far. And make sure it's a project in your state or in a township or government body similar to yours, whether it's township, city, village, whatever it is. Find a similar nearby project. Learn about records requests. Often, like I said, these things are shrouded in secrecy. So learn about that process. Identify the political pressure points. Identify what elected officials in your area have the authority and the power to grant tax breaks or to grant whatever it is that's going to allow these permits to go through to allow construction, and spread the word. Hopefully some of the talking points I gave you today are things you can tell people who are on the fence. And like I said, every environmentalist is going to be on our side, and as they should be. But if they're not an environmentalist, the economics of this stuff are just as dire and just as easy to talk about. So hopefully that's helpful. And Food and Water Watch, we're doing a lot of this work. So keep an eye out, and I'll share more information as I have it. Sorry, I talked so fast, but I want to get everything in there.
Ben, that was very educational. We're so lucky to have Food and Water Watch on this issue.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and as they have for so many other issues. And now I'd like to introduce the incredible Yvonne Taylor, Vice President and Seneca Lake Guardian, and a founding member of the National Coalition Against Crypto Mining, and who was recently recognized for her leadership nationally on climate as a GRIST 50 fixer and a tireless champion for environmental advocacy in New York's Finger Lakes region. So Yvonne Taylor.
What would we do without tech people? Thank you, Jeb. Oh. Wait a sec here. How come it's not going from the beginning? Okay. I did. All right, even with tech people, we still struggle sometimes. Thanks for having me, everybody. Some of the things that Ben just pointed out These are stories that are being told all across the country as crypto mining and AI data centers spread like a cancer across the U.S., leaving many communities with similar stories like the one I'm about to tell of harm to our health, the economy, the climate, and our environment. In the Finger Lakes of upstate New York, agriculture and tourism make up 17% of our state's economy. Agritourism back home supports 60,000 jobs and brings $4 billion into New York State's economy annually. And all of those small business owners rely heavily on clean air and clean water for their survival.
Get this off the side of your screen there.
Oh,
There you go.
okay. Now, here's the bad news. Enter the Greenwich power plant, stage left. Greenwich was an old coal-fired power plant that had been shut down along the beautiful shore of Seneca Lake in the Finger Lakes. It already had a bad environmental history, and then it was resurrected as a gas plant, which the new owners promised was going to operate as what they called a peaker plant and would only operate in times of high demand to supply power to the public. Finding that unprofitable, they started installing Bitcoin mining machines, causing an increase of 700% from historical use. For a privately owned Bitcoin mining operation, which would consume enough power to fuel more than 90,000 homes. This is the behind-the-meter generation that Ben was referring to. And this was also two millionaires from Connecticut could make 5 Bitcoins a day. These slick owners had lured our rural community into welcoming this facility through the promise of jobs and tax revenue that never panned out. Greenwich is allowed to withdraw up to 139 million gallons of Seneca Lake water every single day, and then dump it back hot into the lake at temperatures up to 108 degrees Fahrenheit. This is extremely harmful to our water, which it can also be a contributing factor to harmful algal blooms on a lake where 100,000 people rely on this water for drinking. The increased noise levels, I'm not sure if Ben brought that part up, but there is an incredible amount of noise generated by these machines and the fans used to cool them. And that not only drowns out the natural peaceful quality of life for people in the surrounding area, but because water travels across the lake, people can actually hear the sound of this facility from across the lake. By 2025, this facility was emitting 802,404,000 pounds of CO2 equivalents for the year. That's equal to 170,000 cars on the road. And remember, before Greenwich bought the power plant, it was producing zero emissions because it had been shut down. Not only is this power plant undermining our climate goals, but it is raining things like formaldehyde, toluene, lead, and mercury over our homes, our farms, our vineyards, and our drinking water source every single day. And here's the astonishing part. Their state-required permit was denied, their air permit was denied for violating New York State's climate law. And despite their denial being upheld twice during Greenwich's appeal process, they continued to find legal loopholes to keep operating and keep harming our region's air, water, and economy. Greenwich became the test case for how other decommissioned or underutilized power plants would fall across the state. And thanks to the many citizens, elected officials, and statewide organizations who saw the harms of this predatory industry, we passed a statewide moratorium on using fossil fuel burning power plants for crypto mining while an environmental impact study was being completed. But despite all of these efforts, and against our own DEC's ruling to deny Greenwich's air permit, in a stunning reversal, Governor Hochul disrupted the legal process and greenlighted Greenwich's continued operation. This has emboldened Greenwich to add an AI data center on site, now not only producing 106 megawatts of power through the fracked gas power plant, but also planning to pull an additional 260 megawatts from the grid, virtually tripling its energy consumption. This is what on-site generation looks like for either a crypto mine or an AI data center. Seeing the writing on the wall for communities across the country, we formed the National Coalition Against Crypto Mining, which continues to grow as the industry spreads. And as the majority of crypto miners pivot to AI, so must we, because the impacts are the same. Despite its claims, not only is this energy-intensive industry burning excessive amounts of fossil fuels to feed their greed, but they're also scarfing up those precious green electrons that could otherwise be used by the public as we transition to renewable energy. Therefore, they're hindering, not helping, our climate goals. It's the Wild West for crypto mining and data centers with very little oversight or regulation. And we're fighting against a nefarious industry with more lobbying dollars than the pharmaceutical industry, which is potentially why our governor greenlighted this facility. Communities like ours don't have that kind of lobbying power, but we're here today to help you understand that despite these industry's aggressive campaigns, there's a really critical story to tell. So I speak today on behalf of all the other people in communities throughout the country when I tell you that this can't be a town-by-town or a state-by-state fight. The consequences of Bitcoin mining and AI data centers negatively affect every community in the United States, either directly or indirectly, in terms of undermining our nation's climate goals, raising our electricity bills, with little to no public benefit other than to make a very few very rich people even richer. We need you to see how this largely unregulated industry preys on unsuspecting towns by exaggerating the impact of jobs and revenue while ignoring the concerns about wasteful energy practices, increased emissions, high noise levels, water use, and massive amounts of electronic waste. Our coalition, as you can see, is growing, and we work to provide resources for other impacted communities across the country. And we're making a difference. In Windham, Minnesota, a crypto miner was defeated and the mayor was elected on an anti-crypto platform. In Mountain City, Tennessee, the community shut down a Clean Spark facility. So it's possible. We've teamed up with other organizations to not only collaborate on our efforts, but to turn a national spotlight on this issue, because to burn more fossil fuels to make virtual currency and chat GPT in the middle of a climate crisis is literally insane. Across the country, momentum is building to fight back against this exploitative industry. Leaders are mobilizing around a national moratorium on new data centers. People are paying attention and communities are organizing. Change is coming, but we need to keep the pressure high. Don't let the conversation stop here. Take this with you to keep pushing the movement forward. This is a fight that we can and must win. Thank you.
Thanks, Yvonne. I believe, David, you're going to be moderating the question and answer from the chat on Zoom and also from the audience here live. So finally, please join me in welcoming Cindy Robertson, a board member of the National Coalition Against Crypto Mining. Cindy's a retired master's prepared registered nurse and fierce advocate who has helped communities across North Carolina, Georgia, and beyond gain the tools and local organization needed to push back against these facilities. Cindy, take it away.
Hadn't used this one before. Okay, sorry for the delay. Sorry for the delay. And I'll try to speed things up so we'll have a little time for Q&A. I know some of you. And my name's Cindy Robertson, and Joseph did a great job introducing me. And the content that Ben and Yvonne shared in their presentations, I'm just going to build upon and make it more about North Carolina and what we're facing here. And yes, the fight is local. We're not getting any help from the federal government, to the contrary. So state and then local, that is where we really have to fight things of this nature. So I'm going to start with my story real quickly to give context, and I call it the Tale of Two Cabins. My husband and I bought our dream retirement cabin in Cherokee County, North Carolina, and we were so happy there. My husband is from North Carolina, and that was our dream, is to come back. And I'm a former resident of North Carolina as well. And we were very happy. And about a year later, the worst neighbor you can imagine built about a half-mile away from our cabin. And it started with people wondering what the noise was. And all this power, like that three-phase up there, I know so much more about power than I ever wanted to. I didn't know what a crypto mine was. I didn't know what Bitcoin was at this point in time. But I'm a quick study, and we figured it out. And we felt like nobody was listening. Wonderful, wonderful people lived there, and they are my friends. We did old school protest with signs, just a piece of cardboard even. A petition, you can see 3,400 signatures plus. We had our closed Facebook group where we could post and communicate. We went to every Board of Commissioners meeting. And I'm telling you, the noise from this thing makes people a little crazy. And I know that's not like a medical term, but people I knew, like a 76-year-old woman being physically removed from a Board of Commissioners meeting because she is losing her mind over noise pollution. And it's very sad to see and watch, and I'll get to that in a minute. Rolling blackouts are a thing, they're real. This is in the TVA catchment area. So that far tip of North Carolina isn't in Duke Energy. I personally think that's a worse place to be with the TVA, quite frankly, from my experience. But in December of 2022, rolling blackouts for the first time in their 90-plus year history to residential customers right around Christmas every 15 minutes. And you know, when you live rural, your heat's electric, your water well pump is electric, every stinking thing in your house is electric. So you are in the dark, the cold, and then maybe stuff doesn't come up like it should because it got a little frozen in between. On Christmas Eve, the crypto mines were running through all this. To add insult to injury, you could hear them. They shut down on Christmas Eve at about 2 p.m. Everybody's power came back up, and they bragged about it. That's how we knew how many megawatts they were using. One site in particular bragged they gave back 250 megawatts. That could probably power about 250,000 homes. The county only had about 10,000 homes. So, yeah, we're talking about crazy power demand on a grid that couldn't handle it. We had a decision make, and we sold, and we left. So many people could not leave, and I fight for them, and I am their representative in everything I do. So we moved just 2 counties away. You'll remember from that map. This is in Georgia, in Gilmer County, where Ellijay is, and the apples and all that happy Hallmark-looking stuff. You're not going to believe it. About a year later, what do you think happened? A crypto miner wanted to come to Ellijay, Georgia. I was ready this time. We had 9 days to prepare, and I made some new really good friends, and 1,000 people are said to have shown up to another tiny rural county courthouse, and not everybody could get in, obviously. Long story short, they declined the applicant and put a moratorium in place, and a few months later, a ban on crypto mining. I'm gonna clap for them too. Gilmer County now also has a ban on AI data centers because their commissioners are forward-thinking. This created somewhat of a groundswell of awareness in our mountainous communities across North Carolina and Georgia. Right now, we have 16 counties and 11 cities, Buncomb's among them, that have either a moratorium, a protective ordinance, or a ban on crypto mining. And this is tremendous. More work needs to be done. You can see Burke County up there is unprotected, and that's where stuff's trying to go on. Watauga County is looking at, they're having a vote this month, and Boone just passed a moratorium as well within Watauga County. So yes, I'm working with Bob with the Sierra Club up there. You'll see Cherokee County is red. They used to be green. They had a moratorium banning it. They let it lapse. That's the worst thing you can do. If you live in a county with just a moratorium that has an end date, you can't let it expire. This turned into something kind of bad. So the fight isn't over, it's evolving. And while I take just a moment of pause, I just want to kind of ground us in some concepts so we're all kind of on the same page. Ben did refer to this too, but experts are defining data centers in 3 categories. So traditional data centers have been around for literally decades. We all know that. Their water and electricity consumption fairly stable over the years. And maybe like a humongous one might be 20 or 30 megawatts. And you just heard me say one in Cherokee County was 250 megawatts. So these aren't even on the same scale as these next 2. And these are hyperscale users. These are words the industry uses, but we have to stay up on what their language is so we can fight them better. But AI data centers, high performance computing centers, or large language model applications that they are running, vast amounts of electricity and water has been shared. And then crypto mining data centers, they're probably going to look pretty similar because they both need this enormous amount of infrastructure to run. And the difference with the crypto mining data center is they use different types of computers called ASIC miners. My real techie friends tell me they're ancient technology. That's why they use so much energy. They burn out in 12 to 15 months, so even more e-waste than an AI data center. And they do nothing else except win 3.125 Bitcoins every 10 minutes for one computer in the whole world. So we're burning the world down with crypto mining for one person somewhere to win, and then it all starts over again. Yes, it's that mad. I can see the looks on your faces. It's madness that we're even allowing this. Okay, why has the National Coalition pivoted to AI too? Yvonne discussed this, I'll go over it quickly. 15 of the 15 largest publicly traded crypto miners claim they're pivoting to AI. So what does that mean? Because it could mean a lot of different things. I can tell you a few things we do know. They have a name for it even, the crypto bros. They call it GPU as a service, or an acronym GPU AAS model, where they can help an AI data center just get set up from scratch inside their walls. Their same electrical load, we already said that. Power capacity under contract. The way they get these really sweet low kilowatt per hour rates is they have a contract that's 10, 20 years long. I can think of a crypto miner in Georgia that brags about 1.2 cents a kilowatt hour. I know. And the average residential customer is paying 16.1. So yes, they have all this power under contract. An expert that is with the National Coalition has shared, he feels they have 2% of the national grid under contract. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. Cooling infrastructure for high-intensity computing as well. So this was my first slide, and I'm going to go, this is in Cherokee County, North Carolina. This is Core Scientific. My dog Chip, I rescued him right there. I'm not making it up. He was a puppy, and they were loose and running across where that parking lot is, and the farmer gave him to me. He said, you need to take one since you saved him. So I have a dog who's from right there, and nobody lives there today. We went there on our way over here. It's so sad, y'all. This is all like abandoned. Humans really can't live there. So what changed when they pivoted to AI? 177 diesel generators are on site. 300,000 gallons of diesel fuel is housed right there. Lithium batteries. That all sounds like a bomb to me. So fire risk with these little rural fire departments that are like all volunteer. How would they ever deal with that kind of a fire? High water consumption. This is going to make you sick. Look at their water tower right there. And I took a picture of it today. It says Core Scientific. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous. It used to be Marble, North Carolina's water tank. They just drilled a well somewhere else and gave them that. So who even knows how much of our mountain water they're using, and more noise pollution? I can tell you that's why nobody can live here. It is so flippin' loud. I did make a little tiny bad recording of it because there were 3 security guards there and they were like looking at us and telling us to leave. But I can play it for people after privately. Okay, and how does this all affect North Carolina? So yeah, that's in the tip of North Carolina. Yeah, it might not affect us. Well, Duke Energy is sharing, and this is from WRAL News, did an expose kind of on this. 80% of all new power demand through 2030 in North Carolina is from an AI data center or a crypto mine, and how much your bills are going to increase. I was sent this nifty new tool that genius children at MIT have put together, and it has electricity rates from 2021 to 2026 in the whole country, and you can drill it down to zip code or congressional district. Here in North Carolina as a whole, your electricity is up 20.3% in the last 5 years, And it's predicted to go up close to another 20% by 2030 if all this madness is allowed. So what are we going to do about it? Well, I'm really mad, and I know a lot of people are. They're furious. Look at all these nice North Carolina people here, and they even got Bigfoot in the show there in Lee County, and I kind of like that. They have a really bad thing in Lee County. They're trying to do what Yvonne's facing. A crypto bro, HM Technologies, already has a crypto mine in Graham, wants to drill and frack for natural gas in Lee County and then put a big fat AI data center on top of it. So they get a power plant and a data center, and these people are pushing back like crazy. That's why they got Bigfoot. But we do win. You win here in North Carolina too, you really do. And I'm not going to read you all these communities, but all these communities have had some level of success. And look at those happy people there in Matthews, North Carolina. And I think some that are really recent, Canton, right next to y'all here in Haywood County, and they got a moratorium. Got to follow up on those moratoriums, though, because they expire. We also have a checklist, and we're going to email all this stuff to you. You'll have the PowerPoints, and you'll get a link to this. But it kind of walks you through if you hear of one in your community. This is, it ends up being 2 pages, 2 sides of one piece of paper, but it's kind of our playbook and how we've been successful across the country. And then I know Ben spoke of this, local protective ordinances. I can't preach it enough. Proactive is the way to be on this. Some elected officials are scared and they won't do a ban, and that's okay. A restrictive ordinance can be just as good as a ban. It really can be. It can even make you giggle when you read it. I love ordinances. There's something wrong with me because I like reading them and writing them, and it's not my background because I'm a nurse. But here's just some samples of restrictions you could put in a restrictive ordinance that's not a ban, like hours of operation. Greenville, North Carolina in Pitt County, they say that it can only be open from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. They're never going to go there. They can't have restricted hours of operation. They need to go 24/7, 365. That's just a sample. And we have a document called Sample Ordinance Language where we've pulled ordinances from all across the country and then given you like snippets of the best plus a live link. And like this waste heat management, they don't know how to do that. That's like a knockout. They're just like, oh, yeah, I don't know how to do that. So, and then lastly, when in doubt, reach out. We're here to help you. Many others are. Sierra Club is probably our closest national partner across the country and all that we do. And thank you for listening.
Wow. Kind of leaves you speechless, doesn't it? I think we're fortunate to have such great presenters with so much knowledge to help us out here. But for the first question, I want to call Cindy back up and let her talk a little bit about what happened in Hildebrand in conjunction with our local group here.
Absolutely. It used to be called DigiHost. It's an awful crypto miner in North Tonawanda, New York. So we know them well. And now they've changed their name. They change their names constantly, by the way. It's hard to keep up with them, but we try. DigiPowerX, that's their new name. But they bought 20 acres in Hildebrand. So they're in Burke County, next to Duke Energy's largest substation in all of North Carolina. And they were so excited, tickled pink, the DigiPowerX. They had it on their website. They made a YouTube video about it. They had a press release. And it was brought to my attention. I'm like, oh, heck no, we're not doing that in Western North Carolina. So we tried to find people. I know Ken's right there. We were just trying to find people in Burke County, the humans. And we couldn't find anyone, so I called the mayor. I just cold called him. Believe it or not, his last name is Hildebrand with a D on the end of it. Super confusing. But he had no idea. He goes, no. And we talked about 30 minutes, and I told him I was going to send him everything he needed to both, one, know it's true and what to do about it. And I whipped that together. I never spoke to him again. And a few months later, they put a ban of crypto mining in Hildebrand. So that is a yay, like a huge thing. He listened. And I think my biggest takeaway is elected officials, I'm not talking about crypto miners. No, that's a nefarious group. But elected officials, they are just like you and I, and we need to be kind to them, and we need to try to get them up to speed. They don't understand everything either, just like we don't understand everything, and talk to them. So like, we have a strategy that's like the angry people. We need the angry people to be there and be angry, but then we need like the calm people, like, come here, let me help you. And then talk to them and show them all the stuff they could be doing. You're gonna be the hero. I always say that to them. You're gonna be a hero. Let me help you. So there's just different ways that you can approach this. Now, another new bad news is that same crypto miner, DigiPower X, bought another 20-acre parcel, but there's two businesses in between the two parcels. So what are they gonna do with that? I don't know. We really need to help the people in Hildebrand, and Burke County, good grief, needs a good ordinance. Thank you.
Okay, if you have a question, raise your hand and we'll bring a mic to you. But please use the mic so the people online can hear you. David, any online questions while the first people are raising their hands? Okay, here's a question over here. Bill, right across, right there.
I got mine's working.
There we go. Yay. You had talked about the ordinances expiring, and I guess in Haywood County, by us, when is it good through?
Haywood County has their own, and I would have to look to see if it's an ordinance or if it's a moratorium.
Okay.
So the one in Canton within the city limits, that's definitely a moratorium. That's a moratorium.
So the difference between the two, I guess.
Great question. I should explain that better. So a moratorium has a time limit on it, and that varies by state, how long you can do it. In North Carolina, you can do it longer than other states, which is good and bad, because if it's too long, forget about it, and then you don't do anything with it. But it's a very good immediate action, like moratorium. So it just makes everything stop. No new applicants can come in. Then you absolutely need to move on from the moratorium and put either a restrictive ordinance or an ordinance that's a complete ban. And there are tricky things in North Carolina to do a ban. Clay County has a total ban. It's lovely. It's my favorite, Clay County, yay. So certain counties have different rights under North Carolina law, and I'm not gonna try to pretend that I'm an attorney or that I know. I just know it's a little bit tricky here, but it can be done because of Clay County and how they worded theirs.
So what I'm hearing is you can get bans, which mean they just, do they have a time when they expire?
No.
Okay.
No.
So that's what you want to go for, I guess.
You want to go for an ordinance that either is restrictive or a ban. And I'll tell you what, in Gilmer County, Georgia, we have a ban. And then if the state passes a new law that says we have to let the crypto miners in, and crypto miners are trying to get those laws passed everywhere. They tried one here, it failed. Georgia, it failed, yay. But if that passed, we would then go into a restrictive ordinance. which has all those fun suggestions.
Okay, so, and again, you know, this is a bit over my head, but anyway, the bottom line is in Canton, I guess you were saying, and anyway, they have restrictive ordinances, right? Not bans?
No, Canton put a moratorium in place.
All right, so that's going to end.
Yes.
When?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I could look it up. Yeah, it
Okay.
just passed. I want to say 12 months, but please don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get an idea, you know.
You live there?
No, I live here in Asheville, but
Okay.
that's not the point. I used to live over there in Silva, actually, so, but that's not the point. Actually, I live farther over, but, yeah, right? But anyway, with it all said, I'm just trying to absorb everything you're saying. And I guess you're going to send slides, and when you send slides, will you explain some of this? So for somebody like me who's trying to remember what the differences between an ordinance and a ban and
Yes, I'll go back a slide or two. So the sample ordinance that we put out, sample ordinance language, we don't link to it on our website because we don't want the crypto bros getting it because they're not nice. They are
Right.
very not nice people. But we'll send it to folks in a PDF.
okay.
So our email is right on our website. So if you need more information to have it explained better, we can send that.
Okay, thank you. I'm actually a retired nurse practitioner, okay? So I'm not good with technology, all right? But the bottom line is, I'm just trying to absorb all this and figure out what to do. But I'm not going to take up all your time. Thank you for your time.
I'll talk to you after too.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Other questions?
I'm not exactly sure how to say this, but how badly are the data centers needed by people? I mean, what are we giving up by not building data centers? Are we going to have enough internet connection? I mean, I have enough now, and I'm not all about internet, but everybody knows every office, every business, life revolves around the internet now. So how do data centers affect our data needs, you know, whether they're being built or not?
Yeah, one of the things I think I heard from the presentations were, first, there's three kinds of data centers. One's the one we've been using for years, that keep our internet going and all of that. And those are the ones that aren't the big draw on all the resources. So from that standpoint, I think that's not really what they're focused on. It's the AI and the crypto mines, which are a different ballgame.
I can speak to this if you all can hear me still.
Yeah, thank you, good.
Yeah. Yeah, so most of these multiple megawatt data centers are often just running AI programs, so like generative AI and large language models. So that's like your Chat GPT or Claude or whatever that is. So yeah, like what legacy, they're called legacy data centers, are the data centers that house our medical records, financial information, and stuff like that. And so the newer ones are for large language models and generative AI. And that's the majority of what's going on in these new large hyperscale data centers.
Good. Other questions? Okay, if not, I want to do a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank our wonderful presenters, both online and in person. And particularly for them coming all the way down here to be part of this and share their knowledge and their expertise with us. Second thing is we mentioned earlier about rate hikes and data centers and stuff. On the 14th, if I've got the date correctly, the 14th of April at 7 p.m. at the Waynesville Courthouse, and our county courthouse in Waynesville, there's a rate hike hearing for Duke Energy Progress's 18% proposed rate hike over the next 2 years. Show up, make a statement about why that's not fair and why you don't want that to happen. If we show up enough people and they hear it, we can moderate that rate hike. So think about that. Yes, Steve?
Yes, just so you know, these are recorded, and then I don't know what the turnaround time is, but we put them on our WNC Sierra Club website.
Yeah, the program tonight is recorded, and may take me a week or so to get it out there, but if you go to wncSierraClub.org, you can get.
And this way you can, like friends and stuff that want to know about it, that didn't come here or didn't get in Zoom, you can direct them to that, and they can see it. You can watch it again.
Need some mics for these folks.
Okay, the website, I mean, just look up WNC Sierra Club. You'll find it.
That'll get you there.
Yeah. Did you have a question?
I spoke at a utilities commission hearing downtown about 2 weeks ago, and Duke is trying to stretch out coal-fired furnaces and, et cetera. But I think one of your slides said 80% projections in the future are for data centers. I think it was something I saw. Does it make sense to lobby for off-the-grid electricity, because then they don't have to expand their structure and our rates?
No question. We should be encouraging Duke to go to renewable energy, first of all, and not extending the life of their coal-powered plants and their other fossil fuel and building all these things that are very expensive. Nobody knows how much it's going to cost to build nuclear, but certainly the track record on nuclear is that it's prohibitively expensive. And in North Carolina, our legislature passed a law saying they can pass the construction cost on to us, so there's no risk. So the more they build, they're guaranteed rate of return. But what the hearing in Asheville was on their carbon plan. The one in Waynesville is on the rate hike only.
Is there an advantage to push this off the grid so that we do not get the rate hike? The company that's serving Southern Power rates.
We say no, and this is what Ben was touching on. This is the super scary part of data centers for me, is that what happened to Yvonne happens anywhere a gas pipeline runs underground, and they're doing it all over the country, on-site generation. So they call them initially RICE generators, or reciprocal Google RICE generators, but they're more than a regular generator, but they are still carted in, and they can tap into the gas pipeline, and they have like a power plant like that. And that's what like Elon Musk is doing in Memphis, and he's also doing it in South Haven, Mississippi, because we have someone there that's on our team, and it is just awful. So it's everything that Yvonne shared, and I don't really want them running a power plant, especially not crypto bros. I know like a Microsoft or like a regular company, but still, we all like have this love-hate with our utility providers, but at least they have some standards and knowledge and history to just like give all that and say, oh, they're just going to do what they want over there. It's kind of scary. Did you have any other feedback since you spoke at that hearing? Okay. And nuclear, it's really like, you certainly know this, it's like a test case, those small modular reactors, SMRs, that they do have one, I think, in Japan that works. Like, there's not one that works in the United States, seriously. And everybody says that's the solution. And we have been involved in it a lot because they want to build one by Yvonne up in the Finger Lakes. And so nuclear, yes and no. Being someone from Georgia, where the most recent nuclear reactors were built, Plant Vogtle, reactors 3 and 4, 17 years overdue, $36 billion with a B that's being passed on to ratepayers. It's expensive and it takes a long time. So I'm not sure it's going to meet their bubbles timeline.
A side note here regarding the cooling, taking the water and then throwing it back in. Our mountain trout need 70 degrees of water to survive or cooler.
Yvonne will say something about that.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Anything higher than 70 degrees, trout are stressed, and it can really significantly reduce the population. Seneca Lake is known as the lake trout capital of the world, and we have a lake trout derby every Memorial Day, and people aren't catching trout anymore. And we're very concerned that this facility that's dumping this hot water back into our lake every day is harming our trout population. So that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. The stream that they dump the hot water back into, that is a tributary that goes right back into the lake, is a rainbow trout stream. Was. Yeah.
Can I say one more thing about water and cooling?
Yes.
Cool. Often people talk about alternatives to water-based cooling. And while that is a reality, there is a direct trade-off between the amount of water used and electricity used. So if a place is coming in and saying, well, we're not going to be water-intensive cooling, that means they're going to be energy-intensive cooling. And as I mentioned earlier, most of the water used in this process is at the energy generation site anyway. And so there's no trade-off. There's no water-friendly cooling process. If they say it's water-friendly, all that means is the water's being used at the energy generation site rather than the data center site itself, if that makes sense.
Good. Got a question up front? Or is there one back?
Are there any green energy options to power the data centers? Like, I know, like wind or solar or, something like that.
Ben, you want to respond to that one?
Yeah, so there are, but the amount of energy we're talking about is the size of cities. And so, for example, I was working on a anti-data center piece up in New York State. Yvonne might be familiar with it. The Genesee County one, and they would need to create a solar field 12 times larger than the largest one in New York State, or a wind farm 7 times larger than the largest wind farm in New York State. And so while it's possible, do we want to be sending all of our renewable energy sources to these computers? That's kind of the thing, is like, it can be done, but it's just so much power. We're talking about so much power, that if we're going to do that type of renewable build out, it should go to powering homes and businesses rather than computers.
One of the things I would suggest, if you show up at the hearing or submit comments on the rate hike, make it very clear. Duke Energy should not be charging residential customers for the infrastructure build out or the additional power generation required for data centers. That should all be borne up front by the data centers, not by the residential customers. Then we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, kind of thing. So we'll do that.
Kill too many birds.
Yeah, that's right.
Feed 2 birds with 1 hand.
That's right. Any other questions? Yes, one up front.
What's the status of the moratorium in Buncombe County?
It's been less than a year, but one of the things one of my takeaways from this meeting is to follow back up with the planning department and saying, okay, what are we doing for a permanent ban or restrictions? So thank you for doing that. And Cindy's going to make sure I do that. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, if not, I want to remind you, you got 2 things to do the week on the 14th. You go to the rate hike hearing in Waynesville. It's a beautiful town. Go up, have dinner, and speak up and let them know. Number 2, the next night, show up to let the Forest Service know, the Agriculture Department know, do not want to rescind the roadless rule. And then lastly, put on your calendar for the next first Monday in May to come hear about wonderful hikes that are not as well known. Huh? Wednesday, I'm sorry, Wednesday. What did I say? Monday? Yeah, Wednesday. First Wednesday in May. All right. Thank you for coming out in the rain, and hopefully it's now clear and you can head home okay. Appreciate it. And thanks again to our presenters.
I just wanted to say thank you for allowing us to enjoy this beautiful part of the world that you live in. You're very lucky.
And Ben, thanks again for joining us online.
Yes. Well, no. I think there's well over 6,000 feet. Well,